Unveiling 3 sinister blizzard stories, terrifying encounters with the haunted and cursed. The blizzard raged outside, howling like a restless spirit unleashed. Jenna, a 34-year-old single mother, huddled in her small Ohio home with her 2 kids, Mia and Ethan. Snow piled against the windows, blocking the world outside. "Just a little storm, right?" she murmured, trying to rally her resolve as the kids giggled, building a fort from couch pillows. But the joy felt brittle, like ice ready to shatter. Then the lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Candles flickered to life, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. Laughter faded into an uneasy silence, replaced by the overwhelming roar of the storm. Outside, the wind whispered something insidious. The community app buzzed to life, choking Jenna with dread as she caught snippets of alarming updates. A neighbor's report of strange figures lurking in the shadows and disembodied whispers cutting through the howling wind. Ignoring the chills creeping up her spine, Jenna forced a smile, leading her kids through a game of charades. But with every gust outside, a creeping anxiety gripped her heart. Mia's giggles turned to gasps. She clutched Ethan's arm tightly, unease replacing their laughter. The creaking house felt alive, every groan mimicking footsteps just out of sight. Then she saw a shadow flitting past the frosted window, and her breath caught. Her heart raced. The world outside was once friendly and familiar, but now it turned grotesque and twisted, a black and white nightmare. Before she could steady herself, a loud crash shattered the silence, glass exploding from the back of the house into the still air. Jenna froze. Panic clawed at her throat. The unsettling tales echoed through her mind, the stories of Mr. Harris, their seemingly harmless neighbor with an obsession for local legends. Tales of a cursed land, spirits that whispered in the night, warnings spoken in hushed tones. Was he really just a harmless man? Had they awoken something lurking beneath the surface? She grabbed her children, urgent and terrified. "We need to go." Her voice trembled. They stumbled toward the door, fighting the urge to look back as fear wrapped around them, whispering of unknown horrors. The world outside had transformed the once safe streets, warped into a maze of blinding snow and wild shadows. Each gust of wind felt like a creation of the dark, suffocating reality that nothing was as it seemed. Running house to house, Jenna felt her sanity fraying. Some doors stood ajar, inviting them in, yet they felt ominous, as if someone or something awaited behind those walls, mocking their fear. As they neared Mr. Harris's home, light flickered through the icy glass, shadows twisted like skeletal fingers. They weren't alone. Something watched them from the darkness, eyes glinting with a predatory hunger for their fear. Before she could react, the front door swung open with a menacing creak, revealing a dark silhouette stepping out into the snow with an unsettling grin, poised for their arrival. Jenna's breath quickened, panic tightening its grip. They had been led into a chilling trap. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna stood frozen as the dark figure took a step toward them, the howling wind now a cacophony of ominous whispers, each syllable dripping with malice. Something terrible was about to happen. She clutched her children closer, heart hammering against her ribs. In the swirling chaos of the storm, the innocent game of charades felt like a distant memory, replaced by the grim reality that sometimes, the darkness holds a secret that can consume you whole. Jenna's mind raced. She could feel the weight of the cold air pressing in on them, threatening to crush her resolve. The figure loomed larger, its silhouette stretching and morphing in the flickering candlelight, a grotesque parody of humanity. "Mia, Ethan," she whispered, urgency pouring from her lips as clouds of icy dread enveloped her. "Stay behind me. No matter what happens, don't let go. But as she shifted her body in front of her children, she could see fear painting their eyes. The figure took another step, the snow crunching underfoot like bones breaking in the night. What do you want? Jenna's voice quivered, the question sounding weak even to her own ears. With every second, she felt the darkness creeping closer, crawling under her skin like a swarm of angry insects. A chuckle, deep and rumbling, erupted from the figure. I just want to help, don't you want to play? It tilted its head, the grin widening to an alarming degree. Jenna's heart raced as she recognized that twisted smile, the same expression that haunted her nightmares as a child, one she thought she'd buried long ago. It belonged to Mr. Harris. Suddenly, an unnatural gust of wind ripped through the air, extinguishing the candles. Darkness spiraled around them, swallowing sounds and distance. For a moment, Jenna was utterly lost, fear coiling in her gut. But the panic radiating from her children pulled her back. We need to move, she urged, and she could hear the tremor in her own voice. With trembling hands, she grabbed Mia's and Ethan's wrists, and they surged into snow-shrouded chaos. They zigzagged through the streets, desperately veering away from the shadow of Mr. Harris, now just a looming specter within the white abyss. But no matter how hard they ran, something stalked them. Jenna could hear it rustling in the snow, a soft thud behind them, the unnatural whispers growing louder, weaving through the howling winds. Mama! Ethan whimpered, breaking through the panic, his small voice laced with desperation. Jenna's heart shattered further. Keep going. Don't look back. Jenna urged, though every instinct screamed to turn, to confront whatever haunted them. Each breath became harder to pull in, the air felt denser, almost as if the storm itself bore down on them like a predator. They stumbled upon a house ahead, its windows glowing a welcoming amber, the only light in a veritable sea of darkness. But as they approached, the shadows crept around them, taunting their frantic flight. The door was ajar, a disquieting invitation. Let us go inside. Jenna shouted, urging her children forward. It felt wrong, but hiding felt worse. They burst through the door, snow trailing behind, and found themselves in an eerie living room, lit by a flickering fireplace that cast menacing shadows. The windows were heavily draped, suffocating the outside world. Everything felt utterly still, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Hello? Jenna called, hoping for a semblance of reassurance. But only silence met her. Then a voice, familiar yet foreign, whispered from the darkness behind her. Welcome home, Jenna. Panic surged anew, twisting like a serrated knife in her chest. The shadows swallowed her children, pulling them away from her grasp. Mia. Ethan. She lunged forward, arms outstretched. But the darkness wrapped around her, pulling her back into its embrace, as the laughter echoed, warped and haunting. Jenna felt the grip of the unseen titan, dragging her into a nightmare she couldn't escape. What had she awakened? In the fleeting moments before everything faded into the night, she recognized that sometimes, the true horrors lie not in the dark, but in the buzzing echo of familiarity, disguising itself as the uninvited. As the world spiraled into nothingness, she wondered if they would ever uncover the truth or if it was too late for them all. Jenna's senses exploded into chaos as the shadows twisted tighter and tighter around her. She felt her heart hammering against her chest, a primal drumming that matched the panic in her throat. A rush of cold air snaked across her skin, and she gasped, trying to reclaim her breath. Mia. Ethan. She screamed, her voice sharp and desperate, slicing through the suffocating stillness. But no reply came. No echo of her children's voices. Just the cruel laughter still ringing in her ears. Desperation ignited in her, sending pulses of adrenaline through her limbs. She fought against the darkness, clawing at the shadows like a wild animal. It was too much, too powerful. But Jenna instinctively knew she had to push through. She had to find her children. The familiar voice echoed again, a low whisper caressing her ear as it dripped with malice. "You woke me. You shouldn't have done that, Jenna." The words slithered around her mind, filling her with dread she thought she could never feel again. Memories flooded back, fragments of her childhood, dark corners of whispers, secrets that should have remained buried. Jenna turned, frantically searching the suffocating darkness. Surely, somewhere amid the gloom, there had to be an escape. Mia. Ethan. Her words were frantic, a desperate mantra to uphold her sanity. As if teased by a cruel puppeteer, the shadows danced, pulling away from her. Jenna strained her eyes, struggling to decode the darkness. Flickers of light surfaced momentarily in the corners of her vision, the outlines of familiar furniture, the remnants of a once cozy home. Was this where she had grown up? The memories clawed at her, both comforting and horrifying. "Mama! Help!" Jenna whipped around, the sound of Mia's frightened voice like a hook, drawing her in. It was weak, muffled beneath layers of darkness. "Where are you?" Jenna shouted, her heart filled with dread. Time twisted and stretched, pushing her to the brink. Then came a crash. A piece of furniture toppled to the ground, shattering the silence. "No!" Jenna screamed, lunging toward the sound. Her hands grazed past cold, unyielding surfaces, wrestling her way through the disorienting shadows, the air thick with an awful foreboding. "Jenna!" The voice laced with chilling familiarity came again, sending terror skittering down her spine. It echoed from somewhere deep within the house, misunderstood and malignant. "Come play with me, sweet Jenna. Don't you remember the games we used to have?" She stumbled back, panic flooding her chest as the shadows twisted, morphing into something grotesque. The warmth of the fireplace flickered ominously, refusing to drive out the cold that seeped into her bones. "Not again," she breathed, despair crawling over her like a second skin. Then, flickers of flame illuminated ethereal faces, the shadows taking on features she recognized from her youth, twisted, haunting, and wrong. They were the children who had played in the yard, who had once laughed with her but were lost to the darkness. "Join us, Jenna," a childlike voice chimed in, translucent and beckoning. "We waited so long," she recoiled, the sinister invitation wrapping around her like a noose. Jenna fought against the urge to join them, to surrender to the familiar fear. "I want to play," she shouted defiantly. But as she turned to fight through the oppressive thickening dark, she felt the cold fingers wrap around her ankle, pulling her down into the abyss. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, feeding off her terror. "Please, I need to find my kids," she cried, wrestling against the unseen force with every ounce of strength. The darkness laughed, mocking her, as she teetered on the brink of utter despair. The ground crumbled beneath her as fragments of childhood memories mixed with terror swirled around. Was she losing herself? In that desperate moment, she spotted a flicker of light off to her side. Was it real or a cruel trick? Jenna made her choice. With a fierce cry born of survival, she broke free, lunging toward the light. As she ran, she could feel the darkness screaming, "You cannot escape." Yet, she couldn't stop now. Not while there was even a chance. What awaited her in the light? Would it guide her to her children or lead her deeper into darkness? The air felt electric, time suspended as she vaulted through the threshold. Jenna stumbled through the light, her breath caught in her throat. Hope fought against despair as the brilliance enveloped her, illuminating the shadows that had gripped her heart with terror. The chill that had seized her soul began to thaw, but the specters of her past flickered at the edges, watching, waiting. The room she entered was vast yet unfathomably familiar. Everything she had once known lay here, as if time had folded back on itself. A large dining table sat in the center, covered in a thick layer of dust. Cobwebs spun delicate traps in the corners, and the air smelled of stale memories. Jenna felt a pang of loss. The echoes of laughter once vibrated here, but now only silence reigned. "Mama!" The voice sliced through the air. "Mia!" Panic surged through Jenna as she hunted for the source. But where was it coming from? She whirled, trying to decipher the shadows that remained lurking in corners of the room's embrace. "I'm coming!" she shouted, desperation thick in her voice. "Help me!" Mia's voice was louder this time, trembling with fear. Jenna sprinted toward the first doorway she found, a dim corridor stretching out like a gaping maw into more darkness. The chill returned, creeping up her spine. She glanced back, expecting to see the shadows lurching behind her, but they felt distant, recoiling, almost as if repulsed by her fierce determination. "Mia!" She called out again, and the walls seemed to reverberate with her desperation. The floorboards creaked beneath her tread, as if the house itself were alive, shifting anxiously. Jenna, that voice again, slithering through her mind, dripping with a chilling familiarity. She pressed on, dread curling in her insides. This was not just a house, it was a labyrinth of the past. Each corner turned felt like a plunge into a memory she had buried deep. "Mama!" Each call scraped against her heart, igniting her resolve. Jenna raced through the corridor and stumbled into a room bathed in a spectral glow. A child's room, with toys scattered across the floor. She recognized the old doll she used to play with. Its porcelain face stared up at her, cracked yet hauntingly precious. Her heart twisted. "Mia, where are you?" The shadows shifted again, pooling in the corners. They were beguiling, restless, tossing and turning as if whispering secrets meant only for her. "The games, they're just beginning," Jenna, alarms blared in her mind. Her movement faltered for just a moment, a flicker of doubt threatening to freeze her in place. Those children, their faces twisted and their beckoning all lost, yet so familiar. Would they take her too? No. She gasped, shaking her head violently, shattering the spell. She pressed forward, pushing through the past clinging to her, determined to break the cycle. "Mama!" This time, it was right before her, as if the sound surged through a wall. She lunged forward, pounding on the door at the end of the hall, heart racing, breath quickening. She had to reach her child. The door buckled open without a sound, revealing an empty space beyond save for a single chair in the center. It swayed as if something just left its embrace. "Mia!" Jenna put one foot in, but she hesitated as the darkness coiled tightly behind her. "Mama!" A whisper threaded through the silence. Her heart pounded louder, threatening to drown out everything else. The room exuded a suffocating heaviness, and just beyond the threshold, Jenna noticed faint outlines hovering, childlike figures, their grinning faces warped in the glow of a flickering lamp. "Join us," they sang, their voices sweet yet tainted with malice. Jenna's senses screamed at her to flee, but her bones felt heavy. How could she leave without her children? What if Mia was in there? "Run!" A voice screamed inside her head, but it was drowned out by the chorus of coaxing echoes. Her pulse raced. If she stepped into the room, would it engulf her too? This was her decision. She had to make a choice. The door loomed, a portal between salvation or being swallowed whole. But as she prepared to step back, the ground quaked. The shadows writhed, lashing out. Reaching for her mama. "Help me." She couldn't abandon her child. Not again. In that moment of hesitation, Jenna knew she had only one option left. The shadows lunged. What would they demand this time? As the darkness surged forward, Jenna felt herself on the precipice of something unimaginable. Jenna felt the breath of shadows at her back, cold and clamoring, and in that instant, clarity sliced through her panic. She couldn't leave. Not now. Not again. "Mama!" The sound came clear, sharp as a blade. It was as if Mia had become a beacon, and Jenna's heart twisted painfully, tethering her to that anguished call. She gripped the doorframe, knuckles white, ready to dive into the darkness where those twisted shadows lay waiting. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, she lunged into the room. The door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate. The air inside was thick, suffocating, saturated with the essence of all the lost souls that had before her walked this cursed path. The children's faces glowed eerily, their smiles stretching like grotesque masks. "Join us," they chorused, their voices overlapping, a cacophony thick with longing. "Mia!" Jenna screamed, searching frantically. Her breaths came quick and shallow, the edges of her vision darkening. She pushed through the deep shadows, reaching out, desperate. The figures shifted, giggling, their laughter echoing off cruel, unseen walls. "Mama, I'm scared." The cry came from directly ahead. Jenna's heart snagged in her throat. There, beyond the mass of shadows, she could see a small figure huddled against the far wall. Was it Mia? Hope ignited within her for a mere second before despair threatened to extinguish it. "Mia!" She stumbled toward the child, every step feeling like wading through thick sludge. The closer she got to the grim specters, the more they coiled and twisted around her, their whispers growing louder, promises of joy, of belonging, but at what cost? "Stay away!" she shrieked, shaking her head as she fought the oppressive force swirling around her. "I want to let you take me. I want to." The children paused, their smiles faltering. For a heartbeat, the room fell silent save for Jenna's frantic breaths. Her eyes darted from one face to another, each one a mask of innocence twisted with malice. "Leave her alone." With each word, Jenna's resolve grew hotter, a fierce flame against the freezing darkness. They recoiled, a collective gasp echoing. The shadows, once fluid, suddenly stumbled like caught prey, retreating just a step. "Mama, please." With renewed vigor, Jenna surged toward the huddled figure. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm coming." But the shadows surged back, a tidal wave of malevolence, crashing against her resolve. They reached for her, fingers cold and claw-like, wrapping around her wrists, pulling her backward. In the chaos, Jenna felt the doll's porcelain face brush against her leg, the one she had left behind. It rolled toward her, its eyes glinting with something more than just loss. It was warning her, mocking her. Just then, she caught sight of the figure in the corner. It was Mia, her eyes wide and shimmering with fear. "Mama, don't let them take me." The shadows twisted and swayed, whispering promises into Mia's frail mind, promises of playhouses, endless laughter, of a life free from sorrow. Jenna's heart dropped. "No. You're not taking her." She shook off the icy grips marionetting her limbs, a visceral rage igniting within. Her voice roared, ripping through the chamber. But the air thickened, the shadows darkened, gathering in a fierce, ominous tide. In the corner, Jenna's heart pounded as she caught her daughter's gaze, fearful yet trusting. "Choose," hissed the shadows, their voices a snarling tempest. "Stay with us, or you're all alone." Panic gripped her heart. The dilemma loomed like a dark specter. Could she reach Mia? Would stepping closer be salvation or doom? "Mommy!" Mia cried, her plea slicing through the encroaching dark. Every instinct screamed to dive into the embrace of shadows, the very allure that had already captivated so many. But in that very moment, included in the weight of that decision, Jenna felt the pulse of a bond they shared, a tether deeper than anything the shadows could promise. With a primal scream, Jenna lunged toward Mia, shoving the darkness aside. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as Jenna broke through, wrapping her arms around her daughter just as another wave surged forward. "Mama!" But the question hung in the air still, would their bond, their desperate love be enough to stand against the heart of this nightmare? Through the spiraling darkness, a new horror flickered just beyond reach. "Will you save her?" a sinister echo taunted. And in her heart, Jenna knew she was not done fighting. A howling wind swept through the room, a twisted counterpart to the silence that had followed Jenna's desperate act. Shadows danced impatiently, swirling like furious spirits eager to reclaim what they believed belonged to them. Mia clung to her, trembling, the warmth of her tiny body a stark contrast to the frigid air thick with malice. "Mama, I'm so scared." Mia's whimper broke Jenna's heart, but it also ignited her will. She couldn't let the shadows win. Not again. "Stay close to me," Jenna said, her voice surprisingly steady. There was no time for fear now. She glanced around, looking for an escape. The walls seemed to close in, closing off any sense of egress. Every path she could visualize vanished behind writhing figures, their eyes gleaming with hunger. The shadows were drawn to them, a tide of dark intent surging forward. Every child's face flashed past her, haunting and pleading. She felt each grasping hand as they clawed at her resolve, each whisper promising solace, promises sealing bonds thicker than blood. How many had stood here, lulled into despair by sweet-sounding lies? "Mama! Look!" Mia pointed, her small finger trembling as she spotted something glowing ominously in the corner. A lantern, flickering weakly against the oppressive darkness. The shadows hesitated, as if burned by the light. "We have to get to it," Mia exclaimed, her voice gaining strength. "Then let us go." Jenna seized the moment, yanking her daughter close as she dashed towards the weak illumination. The shadows hissed, a collective discontent, rising like smoke around them, pressing down heavy and oppressive. Jenna had no choice but to push through. A cold hand gripped her ankle, pulling her down. Jenna stumbled, but a fire in her chest kept her upright. "Hold on to me." She felt Mia's small hands clutching her waist. They pushed forward against the tide, every step a battle, every inch fought for with desperation. The lantern's light flickered brightly, illuminating a ragged circle in the thick gloom. As they neared, Jenna felt hope begin to bloom. But the shadows no. The air crackled as they wailed, an angry choir echoing her fears. Their wrath intensified. They swarmed, a swirling mass nearly blocking out the light, a dark curtain threatening to pull them back into an abyss. "Mama!" Mia cried out, her voice shrill. Jenna turned, locking eyes with her daughter, both sets of eyes wide with terror and defiance. "I won't lose you." Clenching her fists, Jenna summoned every ounce of strength and rage. With a guttural scream, she leaned into the darkness and released all of it. "Get away from us." The words rippled through the shadows, raw power igniting the air. For a moment, the demons hesitated, recoiling as if stung by her force. The flickering light grew stronger, casting long shadows that danced in panic. "Mama!" Mia's face was bright, her hope catching fire. "It's working." But the shadows snapped back with vengeance. A figure broke free, larger and more grotesque than the rest, its smile twisted and sharp. "You think you can defy us?" It bellowed, the voice slicing through Jenna's heart. The sinister presence loomed, an embodiment of every lost soul that had succumbed. The lantern dimmed. The figures rushed forward, a surge of black, curling around them, squeezing tighter than any grip. "Mama!" Mia shrieked again, the terror palpable. Jenna felt the cold moisture of their breath on her neck, the filmy whispers crawling under her skin. "No! Not today." In a sudden act of desperation, she hurled the lantern as hard as she could. It crashed against the wall, bursting into a shower of brilliant light. Shadows screamed, howling in agony as some started to dissipate into nothingness. But something new emerged, a clawed hand bursting from the darkness, reaching for Mia. "Mia!" Jenna lunged forward, a wild instinct steering her. The connection between them pulsed with heat. A primal bond ignited. But would it be enough to pull them both out of this nightmare, or would Jenna discover that even love can't conquer the depths of despair? With the shadows recoiling. A deep laugh reverberated through the room, and in that moment, a whisper promised, "This is only the beginning." The shadows shivered, waiting, taunting, as Jenna clenched her jaw, ready to fight for her daughter's life even if it meant facing the darkest parts of her own soul. The brilliant light from the shattered lantern flickered, casting a fleeting glimmer across the walls. For a heartbeat, the shadows seemed to shrink back, their sinister whispers dying to a low murmur. But Jenna knew it wouldn't last. She grabbed Mia tightly, her heart hammering violently in her chest. "Mama, I don't want to stay here. Please." Mia's voice was a desperate sob, every word pulling at Jenna's resolve. "I know, sweetheart. Just stay with me." Panic surged in Jenna's veins as she wrestled with the realization that the shadows were regrouping. They coiled like serpents, waiting for the moment to strike back. Without thinking, Jenna backed away from the wall, dragging Mia towards the center of the room. She couldn't see a way out, but she felt the oppressive darkness closing in, and in the pit of her stomach, she sensed the looming evil was only growing stronger. "Mama!" Mia gasped, her small hand pointing towards the shadow figure now stepping into the meager light. It was the one with the twisted smile, grinning as if savoring the moment. "Did you really think you could escape?" It taunted, its voice low and haunting, wrapping around Jenna's mind like vines. "Stay away from us!" Jenna yelled, defiance coursing through her. She felt the bond with Mia tighten, amplifying her strength. The shadows hissed, flickering at the edges of the light, hungry and desperate. "Mama, the door!" Mia shouted, her innocent eyes wide with a glimmer of hope. Jenna turned, seeing the faint outline of a door behind the thick shroud of darkness. Was it real? Or just another trick? "Come on." Jenna's voice was steel now. She darted towards the door, feeling Mia's grip slip slightly but not letting go entirely. Sweat dripped down her brow, and she could feel the shadows swarming, brushing against her skin, icy fingers grazing her arms, testing her resolve. The air thickened, making it hard to breathe. The laughter of the shadow figure echoed, echoing in the space between her ears. "You think you'll reach it? You have to understand, dear heart, darkness is everywhere. It seeps into your very being." "Mama, I can't breathe." Mia's terrified whimper jolted Jenna back to reality. She squeezed her daughter's small hand. It was time to dig deep. "Just a little further, baby." Jenna propelled them both forward, adrenaline pushing her past the suffocating darkness. She could feel the shadows clawing at her back, trying to pull them backwards. They whipped around her like a storm, casting doubt. The door loomed closer, but now the shadows were shrieking, furious. With every step, Jenna pressed forward, fueled by Mia's scared breaths, the two of them a single force against the dark tide. Suddenly, Mia stumbled. "Mama! Hold on!" Jenna pulled her back, pulling them both just a bit closer to freedom. The laughter grew more manic, slicing through the din of cries. "You'll never escape. You belong to us." Jenna could see it now. The door was almost there. It shimmered with a strange light, a beacon amid the chaos. But the grip of the shadows was tightening, vile hands clawing at her, tugging and tearing at her clothes, at her skin. "Get away!" Jenna roared, drawing from the depths of her love and fear. She lifted her free hand, focusing on the light, imagining it pouring from her to protect Mia. But the shadows surged forward, merging into a single mass, a howling storm of rage and despair. With a final push, Jenna hurled herself toward the door, praying it was real. The cold air slammed into her face, and she leaped, reaching, grasping for that sliver of hope, even as shadowy claws brushed against her legs. But just as her fingers touched the doorknob, something fierce pulled at her heart, like a puppet string snapping back to their dark master. "Mama!" Mia yelled, and in that moment, Jenna realized the shadows weren't just after her. They wanted Mia. The door burst open, and a heavy gust of wind rushed inside, swirling them around. Jenna's heart dropped as she felt the world shift, the shadows screaming in fury. Where would they end up? Would they escape, or simply fall deeper into the nightmare? As the darkness thrashed and the light flickered out, Jenna gripped Mia tightly, hoping together they could outrun the monsters that lurked in their past. Would the light guide them back to safety, or did the shadows have another plan? The door slammed shut behind them with a deafening finality, the sound reverberating in Jenna's ears like a death knell. She stumbled, winded, and momentarily freed from the crushing weight of darkness. Glancing down, she found they were no longer in that cursed room but in an expanse of pale snow, a frozen landscape stretched out before them. "Where are we?" Mia's voice trembled, her small hand tightening around Jenna's fingers as they sank into the deep, cold drifts. I don't know," Jenna managed, her breath coming out in white puffs. The sudden change from darkness to blinding snow, so stark and harsh, was disorienting. Shadows danced at the edges, lurking among the trees that stood warped and twisted in unnatural ways. They loomed like menacing sentinels, keeping watch over the frozen terrain. "Mama," Mia whispered, glancing up at her with wide, fearful eyes. "What if the shadows find us here?" The chill settled deep into Jenna's bones as the wind howled mournfully around them. Her instinct told her to run. But run where? There was no path, no clear direction. Just endless white and an eerie silence that was anything but comforting. "Okay, let us just keep moving," she said, forcing herself to appear strong. "Find some place safe." But every crunch of the snow under their feet felt like a shout in the deafening stillness. The shadows faded in and out, flitting between the trees like wraiths searching for lost souls. A haunting melody twisted through the air, carrying with it the echoes of laughter, screeches, and cries, sounds Jenna thought had vanished in their fight. "Mama, that sound," Mia began, trembling. Jenna swept her palm over Mia's mouth, her heart racing again. "I hear it too." But there was no time for fear. Jenna urged them onward, each step heavier than the last, the snow pulling at her. The cold gnawed at her fingers, numbing them, and she pressed them closer to Mia as if their combined warmth could stave off the encroaching horror. A flicker of movement caught her eye. Just beyond a cluster of gnarled trees, she thought she saw something, a figure, a shadow. Jaw clenched, she squinted, but the moment she focused, it melted back into nothingness. "Did you see that?" she asked. Mia nodded, her breath quickening. "I don't like this place, Mama." "Neither do I, sweetheart, but we have to keep moving. We have to find a way back home," Jenna urged, fear coursing through her veins, battling against hope. As they trudged through the endless white, a sudden warmth enveloped them, a stark contrast to the biting cold. A glimmer of light like a fire flickering in the distance drew them in. It beckoned them with a warmth that surged through Jenna's chest, an irresistible promise. "The fire. Mia, look." Just as they began to change their course, a low growl echoed through the stillness, deep and rumbling. Jenna's heart plummeted. She whipped around to find the shadows emerging from the trees, forming an army of dark silhouettes. Those twisted, grinning faces returned, eyes gleaming with malice, their laughter mingling with the wind. "Did you think you could escape us?" The figure mocked again, closer now, shadows clawing at the air like phantom hands. Jenna's momentary spark of hope snuffed out in an instant. "Run, Mia!" she shouted, pushing her daughter ahead. The light flickered again, and their only path led them straight into its embrace, the howling shadows gaining ground. But as they approached, Jenna's stomach twisted. What if it wasn't salvation? What if it betrayed them? In that heartbeat, a chilling realization gripped her: not every light leads to safety. "Mama!" Mia cried again, pulling away as the waiting darkness surged towards them both. Jenna whipped around, dread washing over her as the shadows lunged closer and closer. But now they had no choice. With the looming darkness threatening to swallow them whole, Jenna took Mia's hand tightly, forcing herself to trust in the light, despite the shadows clawing at their heels. After all, she had to believe something waited beyond the darkness. But what if the fire was just another trap, designed to lure them deeper into despair? As they lunged forward, the shadows closed in, laughter echoing cruelly. Would they find the warmth they sought, or would it consume them, drawing them deeper into the nightmare? The blizzard roared to life around them, cold and hungry. And then silence. The moment they entered the glow of the flickering fire, warmth engulfed Jenna and Mia, wrapping around them like an enveloping hug. But something felt wrong. The light was too bright, too perfect amidst the chaos outside. Jenna felt a nagging pressure at the back of her mind, warning her that not all was as it seemed. "Where are we?" Mia whispered, eyes darting around the small clearing encircled by ancient, gnarled trees. Each trunk seemed to twist toward the fire, as if drawn by its allure, their bark almost breathing, twisting in rhythm to the flickering light. "I don't know, honey," Jenna replied, forcing herself to sound calm. "But we're safe for now." Yet, the shadows still lurked near the tree line. They dripped with malicious intent, flickering like candle flames at odds with the reflections off the snow. Jenna tensed, glancing toward the darkness beyond the firelight where the growls had sounded just moments earlier. "Mama, look!" Mia pointed, her tiny hand trembling. In the midst of the trees outside the ring of light, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was vague at first, a silhouette swaying like a marionette on invisible strings. "Mia, stay close," Jenna's voice trembled, the urgency in her tone palpable. The warmth faltered. The figure edged forward, growing clearer with each step, its cracked smile stretching unnaturally wide. "Welcome, wanderers," it rasped, voice slithering around them like fog rolling down a mountainside. "I've been waiting for you." The fire crackled, and Jenna instinctively pulled Mia closer. She could feel her daughter's heart racing, beating against her own. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. "To help, or to hurt?" the figure hissed, tilting its head. "It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it?" It stepped forward, revealing more of its form, a grotesque face, with eyes too wide and teeth that glimmered like freshly honed blades. "I'm not afraid of you," Jenna shouted, trying to channel her fear into bravery, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. The creature chuckled, a sound that sent chills down Jenna's spine. "No? Then perhaps this choice will test your bravery." It gestured toward the fire, which bloomed brightly, reveals a door small and old, nestled between blazing logs, untouched by flame. "What's that?" Mia asked, clinging to Jenna's side, eyes wide. "An opportunity, a passage," the figure cooed, eyes gleaming with dark delight. "One leads to safety, the other to oblivion. Choose wisely." "Mama, I don't want to," Mia protested, stepping back, error clear upon her face. The shadows rippled in the distance, growing impatient. Jenna felt the weight of their malicious gazes. Time was not on their side. The fire crackled, sending sparks dancing into the air, tantalizing, drawing her toward the flickering door. As Jenna stepped forward, she felt a pull, an overwhelming urge to reach for the handle. It shimmered, and the promise of warmth flooded her senses. But in that glimmering moment, a scream not from outside, but from within broke through the air. What if this door only led deeper into darkness? What if their chance at escape was a deception? "Mama." Mia's voice was panicked now, she could sense Jenna's hesitation. "Give me your hand," Jenna gasped, torn between the safety of the fire and the possibility of the shadowy realm crawling closer. But the door beckoned. It pulled with a seductive strength, whispering lies of hope. As Jenna's fingers grazed the handle, the world lapsed into stillness. Would this be the moment they vanquished their fears, or the plunge from which there was no return? The laughter of the shadows faded to a near silence, anticipation thrumming in the air. "Make your choice," the figure sang, its voice stretching like the shadows looming behind them. Jenna's heart thundered in her chest. She could feel the cold breath of the darkness creeping ever nearer. Would she dare to turn the handle and face the unknown? Or would she flee, leaving the chance of safety behind? As she hesitated, that choice hung thick in the air, heavy with the weight of their fates, while the shadows writhed eagerly, ready to claim their prey. In that suffocating moment of indecision, she wondered one last time, what if this was just the beginning? Jenna's fingers trembled around the doorknob, the shadows swarming ever closer. She stared into the glowing door, and memories flooded her mind, the warmth of home, the laughter of her children. But the specter of darkness loomed behind, a reminder of everything they had fought against. Mama Mia's tiny voice trembled, anchoring Jenna to the present, reminding her of what was truly important. She couldn't let the shadows win. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about her daughter. With determination swelling in her chest, Jenna pulled the door open, the softness of light spilling forth, illuminating the stark contrast of their chilling surroundings. "I choose safety," she shouted against the chaos, reaching for Mia's hand. Together, they stepped through the threshold, the glow intensifying and washing over them like a warm embrace. The shadows screamed, their voices merging into a monstrous roar of fury, but Jenna pressed on, dragging Mia into the brilliance that surrounded them. The icy tendrils that had once clawed at their heels dissipated, banished by the light. "Mama!" Mia called, her fear mingling with jubilation as they raced into the heart of the light. The warmth enveloped them, filling Jenna's heart with hope, pushing against the darkness that clung to her mind. But just as they began to feel safe, the figure slithered through the light, its grotesque face contorting with rage. "You can't escape me!" it howled, reaching out, trying to pull them back with a web of despair. "No!" Jenna screamed, turning her back on it, determined to leave the horrors behind. She launched herself deeper into the light, lacing her fingers tighter through Mia's. Suddenly, they broke free, bursting into a clearing where the world appeared as it once had, a glittering suburban expanse under a brilliant sun. The snow was soft, a winter wonderland, and the darkness melted like shadows under the sun's brilliance. "Mama?" Mia looked around, eyes wide with awe. "We're home?" Jenna blinked, disbelief washing over her like ice-cold water. I think we are." They stood in their backyard, the trees surrounding them, still glistening with snow yet somehow freeing in their familiarity. Laughter echoed as Jenna's neighbors flitted about, children bundled up and enjoying the bliss of snowy play. It felt surreal, like she had crossed through a nightmare into a dream. But then, a rustle from the shadows caught her attention. Jenna's heart raced. "Just breathe, we're okay," she whispered, kneeling down to meet Mia's wide eyes. As they took in their surroundings, understanding flickered. The past weeks of fear, of shadows stalking them, had been a trial by fire. But in choosing to confront their fears, Jenna had broken the haunting cycle. "Let us build a snowman," she suggested, desperate to replace memories of fear with laughter. "Mama, I want to!" Mia exclaimed, her face brightening. They gathered snow, their laughter mingling with the joyful shouts of children. The warmth of their moment grew, a cocoon against the harsh memories. But Jenna could see the shadows lingering at the edge of her vision, clouds wanting to reclaim their hold. "Mama?" Mia asked, looking up at her. "What if they come back?" "They can't hurt us anymore, Mia. We're stronger than them," Jenna replied, determination hardening her voice. With each snowball piled onto the imaginary snowman, each laugh that erupted from their lips, they built a wall against the darkness. Clarity settled in. True strength didn't just come from battling the shadows, it came from embracing the love and light that life offered. In the distance, the howling wind became a faint whisper, the blizzard retreating behind them, its menacing roar turned to soft murmurs. They became enveloped in joy and innocence. The sun began to set, painting the sky with warm hues of orange and pink, creating a memory that would wash away the lingering dread. And as day turned to twilight, Jenna felt a wave of resolution seep into her bones. The shadows of the past would not define them. Together, they would push through the light, hand in hand. "Let us go inside, get hot cocoa, and maybe play a game," Jenna suggested, standing up tall. "Yes. And I want marshmallows." Mia giggled, tugging at her hand. "Then marshmallows it is." Jenna laughed, feeling lighter than air. And as they walked back into the warm glow of their home, Jenna knew they had one important truth guiding them: love conquers fear, and together, they could weather any storm that came their way. As they settled in, Jenna looked out the window, watching how the night replaced the fading light. A cool breeze slid past her, but she felt safe and sound inside. The darkness had tried to claim them, but in the end, it was just a shadow, a reminder that in the light of love, they would always find their way home. Now, if you've enjoyed this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right away to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and any theories you have about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who also need to see this conclusion. Your support is what keeps the stories coming. Show you're a true fan.